In this episode, we look at Sabbath keeping. Point number 1. God grants a special blessing to those who keep the Sabbath. Isaiah 56 verse 2 says, "Blessed is the man that doth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and from keeping his hands from doing any evil." Point number 2. God offers blessings to those obedient to his commandments. Deuteronomy 28 verse 1 says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God." Deuteronomy 28 verse 15, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." Point number 3. The Sabbath is a sanctified day set apart for rest. Exodus 20 verses 8 to 11 says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." Point number 4. The Sabbath is called a holy convocation or gathering of God's people. It is a special designated day of worship. Leviticus 23 verse 3 says, "6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest. He shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings." Point number 5. Jesus kept the Sabbath. Luke 4 verse 16 says, "And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and, as his custom was, he went in the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and stood up for to read." Point number 6. Paul kept the Sabbath. Acts 18 verse 4 says, "And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath, and persuaded the Jews and Greeks." Point number 7. Sabbath begins at sunset Friday evening and ends sunset Saturday evening. Leviticus 23 verse 32, "It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month, at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath." Point number 8. The Sabbath is not a day for secular work. Exodus 20 verses 8 to 10 says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate." Point number 9. The Sabbath day is to delight oneself in the Lord. Sports, secular games, or entertainment are not in harmony with the holiness of the Sabbath. Isaiah 58 verse 13 to 14, "If thou wilt turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own works, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then thou shalt delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it." Point number 10. The Sabbath is defiled when we buy, sell, or trivialize the Sabbath with ordinary worldly activities. Nehemiah 13 verse 15 to 22. In those days I saw in Judah some treading winepresses on the Sabbath, and bringing in cheese, and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, figs, and all manner of burdens, which were brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre, also therein brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath day unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us, and upon this city? Yet he bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should be no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and the sellers of all kinds of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them, and said unto them, Why lodge ye about the walls? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came them no more on the Sabbath. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates, to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. Point number 11. Jesus did good on this Sabbath. Matthew 12 verses 11 to 13 says, And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that have one sheep, and find it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day? Will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath day. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Jesus provided for the physical needs of his disciples on the Sabbath. Mark 2 verses 23 to 28. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfield on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began, as they went, to pluck the ear of the corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have ye never read what David did when he had need and was an hungered, he and they that were with him? How he went into the house of the Lord in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat but for the priests. And he gave also to them which were with him. And he saith unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Point number 13. God rebuked those who tried to gather manna on Sabbath. Exodus 16 verses 26 to 30. 6 days he shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. Point number 14. The divine invitation is to find rest in Jesus. Matthew 11 verse 28 to 30 says, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. So in this episode, we looked at Sabbath keeping. Points to remember: God grants a special blessing to those who keep the Sabbath. God offers blessings to those obedient to his commandments. The Sabbath is a sanctified day set apart from the rest. The Sabbath is called a holy convocation or a gathering for God's people. It is a special designated day of worship. Jesus kept the Sabbath. Paul kept the Sabbath. Sabbath begins at sunset Friday evening and ends at sunset Saturday evening. The Sabbath is not a day for secular work. The Sabbath is a day to delight oneself in the Lord. Sports, secular games, or entertainment are not in harmony with the holiness of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is defiled when we buy, sell, or trivialize the Sabbath with ordinary worldly activities. Jesus did good on the Sabbath. Jesus provided for the physical needs of his disciples on the Sabbath. God rebuked those who tried to gather manna on the Sabbath. And finally, there is a divine invitation to find rest in Jesus. In our next episode, we look at the topic of faith.